I always believed our community's beach was one of the best features of our neighborhood. That small strip of lakefront was truly the jewel of Lakeview Estates and a significant reason why I invested in my house 3 years ago. Every summer, weekend, families gathered there, kids played in the water, and neighbors connected with each other. However, our HOA president, Karen Winters, was infamous in our community, and not for good reasons. She had gained power promising to uphold property values, but instead seemed determined to control every aspect of our lives with increasingly unreasonable rules. Her trademark was appearing out of nowhere whenever there was too much enjoyment, clipboard in hand, ready to issue violations. I had managed to avoid her attention for years by keeping a low profile. But everything changed last summer during a real safety crisis. It began when 2 children nearly drowned at our beach over Memorial Day weekend. Fortunately, a resident who happened to be a former lifeguard rescued them just in time, but it was a terrifying wake-up call. Our community had grown, with more families and children using the beach than ever before. At the emergency HOA meeting that followed, even Karen acknowledged the need for safety measures. The board unanimously voted to install a lifeguard tower and hire certified lifeguards for the summer. As a civil engineer with construction experience, I volunteered to oversee the project. Due to safety concerns, permits were swiftly approved, and I worked closely with county officials, who were surprisingly cooperative once they understood the urgency. The lifeguard tower, a simple yet effective structure providing clear visibility across our beach area, was scheduled for construction starting on a Monday in early June, aiming to be operational before our busy 4th of July celebration. The Sunday before construction began, I visited the beach to mark out the area with survey stakes and caution tape. Everything was prepared when I left that evening. However, when I arrived on Monday morning with the construction crew, I was infuriated to find a large concrete planter placed right in the middle of our designated construction zone. Standing proudly next to it was Karen Winters, arms crossed and wearing a triumphant smile. "Good morning," she greeted with exaggerated sweetness. "There's been a change of plans. The board has decided to reconsider the lifeguard tower project." I was momentarily speechless. "Karen, what are you talking about?" I asked, trying to stay calm. "The board voted unanimously in favor. I have all the permits and the construction crew is here, ready to begin." She tilted her head in that condescending way of hers, like she was explaining something to a child. "As president, I have the final say on aesthetic matters, and I've decided a lifeguard tower would be an eyesore that lowers property values. This beautiful planter is a much more fitting addition to the beach, don't you agree?" The planter was anything but beautiful. It was a massive, hideous concrete block that must have weighed several hundred pounds. "How did this even get here?" I asked, still in disbelief. Karen gestured toward a nearby landscaping truck. "My cousin owns Green Valley Landscaping. He was more than willing to help once I told him what was going on." She still wore that smug smile. I took a deep breath, doing my best to remain composed. "Karen, this isn't about looks. It's about safety. 2 kids nearly drowned here. The tower's location was chosen specifically for visibility and approved by the county." She dismissed me with a wave of her hand. "Those kids shouldn't have been in the water unsupervised to begin with. Their parents need to be more responsible. Besides, I've decided the money would be better spent on installing security cameras. Much more useful for keeping things orderly." At that moment, the construction foreman walked over, confused and unsure if they were supposed to proceed. The crew was already on the clock, and delays meant extra cost. I asked for a few minutes and turned back to Karen. "You can't just overturn a board vote," I said steadily. "We have all the necessary approvals. The only legal path forward is to remove that planter and proceed." Her face tightened. "I've already contacted the county to revoke the permits, and I'm confident the board will back me up at the IHE next meeting. In the meantime, if you attempt to move that planter or start building, I'll file trespassing charges." She tapped the HOA bylaw binder she always carried like it was gospel. "Section 12, paragraph 4, gives me authority to prevent unapproved alterations to community property." I was rapidly losing patience, but kept my voice even. "Karen, you're wrong about your authority. The board vote and county permits override personal opinions. Please remove the planter so we can proceed." Her eyes narrowed. "You clearly don't know who you're dealing with. Have you forgotten that your deck extension last year is 3 inches past the allowed dimensions?" She gave a cold smile. "It would be unfortunate if the HOA had to enforce that and make you tear it down." There it was, the threat. Classic Karen. I shouldn't have been surprised, but it still caught me off guard. She'd clearly been holding that in her back pocket, probably had a list of minor infractions she could weaponize at any time. I gave it one last try. Karen, this isn't personal. It's about the safety of the children in our community. That Lifeguard tower could save lives. Is that really worth blocking just to make a point? For a brief moment, I thought I saw hesitation in her expression, but it vanished just as quickly. The decision is final, she said. The planter stays, the tower doesn't. End of discussion. She turned and walked away, leaving me standing there with a construction crew that now had nothing to do and a giant, pointless concrete obstacle in our way. I apologized to the foreman and told him we'd have to reschedule. As the crew packed up, I pulled out my phone and made 2 calls. One to the head of the HOA board to explain the situation, and another to my contact at the county permit office. What I learned changed everything. Karen had contacted the county, pretending to represent the HOA, but she had no authority to revoke permits that had been legally and properly approved. More importantly, my county contact explained that Karen's actions weren't just a violation of HOA protocol, they were illegal. Interfering with a county-approved safety structure violated public safety ordinances. This wasn't merely a matter of bylaws anymore, it was a legal issue. The next morning, I returned to the beach with reinforcements. 2 fellow board members, my county contact and a uniformed police officer. Karen was summoned to meet us there. When she arrived and saw us all waiting, her usual smug confidence flickered, but only for a moment. "Well," she said with forced cheer, "it looks like you've brought quite the entourage, but I'm afraid it doesn't change anything. As I mentioned yesterday, the board has reconsidered the Lifeguard Tower project." That's when the board's vice president stepped forward. "That's not true, Karen. The board never voted to reconsider anything. You acted entirely on your own. That's a direct violation of HOA procedures." Karen's face turned red. "As president, I have executive authority in matters of community aesthetics. If you'd bothered to read the bylaws," but the county official cut in. "Ms. Winters, this goes beyond HOA bylaws. You've illegally obstructed a county-approved public safety installation. That planter needs to be removed immediately, and construction must proceed as planned." Karen looked genuinely shocked. "Illegal? That's absurd. This is private, community property. It's still subject to county safety regulations," the official explained calmly, "especially when water safety is involved. This permit was issued after multiple near-drowning incidents and a formal safety assessment. This isn't optional." Karen turned to the police officer, clearly expecting him to side with her. "Officer, these people are trespassing. As HOA president, I'm asking you to remove them." The officer looked uneasy. "Ma'am, from what I understand, they're acting with full authorization to be here. The safety tower has proper county permits. You, on the other hand, placed an unauthorized obstruction. I'm going to need you to have the planter removed immediately." Karen's complexion shifted from red to purple. "This is outrageous. I'm trying to protect our property values. That tower will be visible from half the community. It's an eyesore." "Ms. Winters," the officer said, patience thinning, "you have 2 options. Arrange for the planter to be removed now, or be cited for obstruction of a public safety installation. That's a serious offense." For a split second, I thought she might give in. But then, true to form, Karen pulled out her phone and started recording. "I'm documenting this abuse of power," she declared. "You have no right to threaten me. I know my rights. That tower isn't going up, today or ever." Then came the moment that would become legend in our neighborhood. Karen marched over to the planter, spread her arms wide, and planted herself in front of it like she was protecting the last tree in the rainforest. "You'll have to physically remove me if you want to touch this planter," she shouted. The officer sighed heavily. "Ma'am, please don't escalate. I'm being reasonable," she yelled, her voice carrying across the beach. "I'm protecting our community from this hideous monstrosity." By now, a small crowd of neighbors had gathered, phones out, some clearly enjoying the drama. The officer gave her one final warning. "You are now obstructing a public safety installation and trespassing. If you don't move, I'll have no choice but to place you under arrest." Karen sat down on top of the planter like a defiant statue. "Go ahead, arrest me for protecting my community." The officer looked genuinely pained, but then did exactly what she dared him to do. He placed her under arrest. The look on Karen's face as she was helped off the planter, handcuffed and led to the police car was something I'll never forget. She kept repeating, "This is a mistake. I'm the HOA president," as if that gave her diplomatic immunity. After she was taken away, her cousin's landscaping company was called to remove the planter. Construction on the Lifeguard Tower finally began and was completed just in time for the 4th of July weekend. And as it turned out, the tower blended in perfectly. Hardly the eyesore Karen had warned us about. As for Karen, she was charged with obstruction of a public safety installation and resisting an officer. At her hearing, the judge was not sympathetic. Her defense? I was protecting property values. The judge didn't buy it. She was sentenced to 100 hours of community service, fined $5,000, and placed on probation for a year. When the sentence was handed down, Karen's face twisted in pure disbelief. $5,000, she shrieked. I was just doing my job. The judge banged the gavel. One more outburst and you'll be held in contempt. Karen's silence, finally, was the most peaceful moment that courtroom had experienced all morning.